everybody. My name is Caitlin Russell. Some of you may know me as Katie, and many of you have met me. Maybe you met me back in school. Maybe we know each other as friends throughout the years, maybe family friends, also as coworkers throughout all the various jobs that I've done. Many of you know me as a very bright and bubbly personality person, very fun and very energetic. I could be silly. But some things you guys may not know about me is actually I am a survivor. And I am a survivor of child abuse, sexual assault, as well as domestic violence. And I'm on here today because I wanted to bring awareness to this because April is Child Abuse and Sexual Assault Survivors Awareness Month. Now, with the Me Too movement, it's been amazing. Like they've been helping so many people come out and share their stories and really make some progress to move forward. Now, for myself, I want to share my story with you. Now, I'm not going to go on and on in this video about it, but I am going to be doing a series of videos talking about my story of strength, courage, and hope. All right. But today I'm just going to briefly go over my life as a child. I'm going to talk about what happens with the survivor with the guilt, blame, and shame, and how it caused me to repeat the cycle as an adult. And then also talking about what I did to heal myself, because now I'm in a really good spot. I have a wonderful fiance. I'm happy. I'm doing phenomenal in my career path. I love where my life has become, where I'm at now. And it's because of the things that I've experienced and the things I did to heal myself over time. So just to let you know, here in the United States, every 9 seconds, someone is abused in some way or form. And 1 out of 3 to 4 women experience sexual abuse at some point in their life, many of them before the age of 25. So those are just some stats of how serious this issue is. I mean, that's a lot of people when you think about it. Think about your 5 friends that you know. One of them is probably a survivor. They may or may not have told you. If you know me, I am one of your friends that you know. Okay? So just to bring this awareness out, because so many people had no idea what I had experienced. So, what had happened to me in my childhood? My mom, she's a teenage mom. She did the best that she could for all of us, for my brother and I growing up. She went through her first marriage to my brother's father. And then during that divorce cycle, she met her ex-husband, who is my abuser as a child, as well as our entire family unit. She met him during a very vulnerable time in her life. Her mother was dying. Like I said, she was going through a divorce. She was a single mom of 2 children. And this man, he appeared to be a very nice person at the time. And that's how he lured our family in. He helped my mom take care of her mother when she was going through cancer treatments. He also helped me with school, helped my brother with school. He was trying to help to show my mom, hey, I'm a great guy. I can help support you and all that. Now, my mom did marry him because my grandmother said, hey, you know what? This guy seems really great. You should marry him. And that happened when I was 10 years old. Now, my grandmother passed away. My mom's husband got a job here in Sacramento area in Folsom at Intel. Now, we were living in Grass Valley. Grass Valley is where our family was, our friends, everything that we knew was there. And if any of you know about what an abuser does in domestic violence relationships, they're all about power and control. Now, how he gained that power and control is first he lured us in with the kindness, with being helpful, with taking care of us, the promises that he made to my mom and our family. Now, to gain more power and control over us, he moved us here to Sacramento, away from everything we knew, our support systems, our family and friends, my mom having a steady job, to where we had to solely rely on him for everything, for food, for shelter, everything, until my mom got a second job. But by that point, he did his psychological abuse and his emotional abuse at that point, getting inside my mom's head, going, oh, okay, let's see what I can do to break down your self-esteem. Slowly backhanded compliments, slowly telling her, oh, well, you wouldn't be able to get this job at Intel that she later on got without him. It was a slow process, and people don't understand that abuse like that happens over time. It's not quick, right? So not only was he being emotionally abusive and psychologically abusive towards my mother, he was doing the same thing to myself and my brother, making us feel like we're less than, making us not feel like we can hang out with friends. For myself, he tried to tell my mom that he knew how to make me be a well-behaved little girl. And I think I was a pretty well-behaved girl, but he wanted more and more power over me and my mom. So he used to tell me that even any form of questioning I would do, whether it was about the chores that first started off basic dishes, maybe laundry, cleaning room, to where it was like Cinderella status, to also setting very high expectations that I should be a straight A student while completing all this, and never question anything that he did, never question any punishments, anything. He did a lot of abuse with that. One thing he did was first started off as grounding me, led to trying to isolate me from my friends and make me a loner at school by making me wear funny clothes to school. So I had no support, couldn't go over to anybody's houses, couldn't talk to anybody about things that were going on at home. And then later on, it made it so difficult where I just gave up. I had no way to actually talk to people, so I stopped trying to have friends. And the same thing happened with my mom. And with all that, he got in our heads. That's where the psychological manipulation and emotional manipulation began. And once he had control of us in that aspect, it then moved into even deeper psychological, physical, and then sexual abuse. He used to make me think I was fat. He used to make my mom think that she was an unworthy parent. He used to say, like, without him, we wouldn't be living in a nice neighborhood. We would be living in a neighborhood with bars on our windows. We'd be threatened with gunshots, that and this, that, and the other, to really psychologically messed with my mother's mind as well as mine, and separated us, each one of us in the family, making us be stuck in our own trauma cycle. So he made us not trust ourselves or trust anybody else, made us think that we couldn't talk about the things that were going on. And what happened with that is I'm just going to point out a couple little things. He, with some of his other abuse that got worse over time, the finding clothes, like I said, but it got to where he would force me to camp outside. When my mom wasn't around, I was thrown into walls and all kinds of things. So I experienced a lot of physical abuse. And then once high school hit, I was developed into a woman, and some of the sexual abuse occurred. I had him telling me really weird shit. Like I was supposed to call him dad, but he would tell me things like, hey, if your mom and I weren't together, wouldn't it be wrong for us to get married? Like all kinds of crazy shit that he would say. Pardon my French in this video, by the way. I'm just trying to be real. But it got really bad. My mom, by the way, also knows that I'm talking about this because she's talking about this experience from her own perspective. Now, as the sexual abuse became more and more prevalent for myself in my teen years, I told my mom, and my mom, luckily, she believed me, and we went to the cops. Got some help. He got out of our lives at that point, even though he never was charged with anything further than a misdemeanor and child neglect. And that's where I feel like the system failed myself, and it's probably failed many other people, which causes us not to talk about other things that happen to us later, because what's the point if this system doesn't work for us, right? So when I went to the cops, he got removed from our lives. I was 17. And I started going through some therapy during that time period, but I wasn't in a place to really heal. I wasn't ready to talk about my thoughts and feelings because I was doing a lot of inside self-blaming, blaming myself for not talking to people, blaming myself for breaking up our lives, blaming myself for allowing someone to manipulate me and my family. And I felt a lot of guilt over that. I felt a lot of shame. I also didn't want people to know anything because I thought I was going to be bullied. I was really, really fearful of being bullied at school. So I never talked about it. In fact, I even asked the cops when we were arriving at the police station if there was anybody with a Folsom High school shirt on. I don't want to get out of the car. It was really stressful. But at that time, I was trying to just put my life back together. And from there to the age of 22, I went through a lot of stuff. Like I was still doing a lot of that guilt, shame, and blame. And because the judicial system failed me with all of the shit that I went through and everything I told the cops, my abuser only got a misdemeanor and child neglect. That's basically, ooh, don't do it again, slap on the wrist, right? So when I was 21, there was an unfortunate circumstance where I was raped. I was raped by a friend, and I didn't talk about it because I was drunk at that time and came to midway through it. So it was really, I was doing the guilt, shame, and blame again, not sure if I did something wrong. Did I do something to warrant his response? And I chose not to talk to the cops because I knew all the crap that I went through before, and I didn't want to go through it again. Fast forward a year and a half later, I met my ex-husband. Now, when you're a child and growing up in a domestic violence household and you only witness certain forms of love, even though it's not real love, it's just trauma and abuse, and you don't know anything different, even though I dated some really nice, sweet men, I was absolutely terrified because I didn't know how to respond. It scared me. And so subconsciously, my brain didn't want to be in those relationships because I didn't know how to react. I didn't know how to respond. So it was too new to me. So I repeated the cycle with my ex-husband. With my ex-husband, we met, we were together for almost 9 years, and I went through a lot of stuff. Like he was basically, how he was as a person was basically all of these abusive people in my life, the abandonment issues I had with my father, and my emotional issues I had with my biological father, and then with my mom's ex-husband. He just, with his emotional, physical, and verbal abusiveness, and he was also addicted to drugs, and that's what I repeated. I married an alcoholic who, his mentality and everything I was familiar with. So, and I felt like I was more in control in that relationship because I was going to school. I had a steady job. I was in management, various different places. I made more money, so I felt more in control. I felt, oh, okay, as long as I have the higher end, I don't have to worry about somebody taking advantage of me. I don't have to worry that this person's going to be abusive towards me. But the reality is I was not healed inside. And I still had in my head a lot of self-doubt, a lot of blame, a lot of issues that were going on inside. And, you know, and that's something that's very stereotypical of survivors. And so he was very verbally abusive after our marriage. After I actually got married to him, he would make me feel like I'm stupid, that I'm ugly, that I'm fat, that the friends I hung out with were not good for me because they either wanted to have sex with me or were jealous of me, and to where he isolated me so much that I had no support system. The only support that I had was him and his friends. He even got me to not talk to my mother. I didn't talk to her for over a year because he made me believe that, oh, she's a horrible person, and she was trying to point out that I was in a bad relationship, and because I told him about those viewpoints that she had, he manipulated me into thinking that she was not a good person for me, that I need to stop talking to her, and who is she to say what kind of relationship I should be in, because she didn't have a good relationship herself. So that went on for a while, and like, he messed up my head. He made me think that I was going crazy, moving my keys, telling me that we didn't have certain conversations, like really messed up mental stuff. Now, we fast forward to in 2016, yeah. That's when I was a year into my current job, and I started staying after work, hanging out with my coworkers, talking to my supervisors, because I work currently in the mental health sector at an adult day program. Now, with that, I learned so many coping mechanisms there. I learned what was not okay. So I ended up getting support in that aspect. Luckily, I was hearing what was going on, hearing that what was being said to me, the verbal abuse, the emotional and psychological abuse, was not okay, that his alcoholism was not my fault, that it was his own demons he had to deal with. And, you know, it wasn't right that he was financially abusing me at that point, because he was not working and making all kinds of excuses as to why he didn't need to work at that time. And then I finally took a stress test at work that said, with how many points I got on it, that most likely in the next year I would have a mental breakdown. That's how high of a score I got. And so I talked to my boss at that time, who gave us that stress test, and then she got me some support groups. I discovered I have codependency, and so I went to a 12-step program for that. I also did some self-esteem workshops with some friends, as well as I went through some individualized therapy as well as some group therapy. And I know a lot of people may say some things about Kaiser, but when it comes to their group therapy classes, I will say that those are they were so incredibly helpful for me. Because I went through anxiety ones, and I did a trauma therapy group last year. That was for 2 months. That truly helped me figure out how to let go of that internal blame that I did. Blaming myself for staying in a relationship for so long. Blaming myself for not speaking out. That shame of, why did I even let that happen? That person wasn't even that good looking. Why was I with that person for so long? Why did I repeat the cycle? But it's all comes down to, I was manipulated so young that I had to unlearn all of those things I learned about myself. All of those hurtful things that wore me down, my self-esteem and my self-worth. I had to relearn that those are horrible things that somebody else said because they were projecting them, because that's how they felt about themselves. That I am not that. I'm actually a worthwhile person. I deserve love and respect and kindness because that's who I am. And that's who I project, or what I do for the world around me. Now, I know I've been talking for a long time. I know there's a lot of things I said, and I will go further into those items about my personal past and my childhood, my ex-husband and that marriage. And I will do that in later videos, hopefully for not so long. But I really wanted to do this because I want you guys to know that if you are a survivor, if you are going through these same things as what I did, or that there is hope, it is hard. It is so hard for people to really see that there is a light out there. They feel, and for myself, it was very difficult. I felt like I was being dragged down into the depths of despair, and even to where I had some suicidal thoughts that I thought that was my only way out. But that's just to end something. It's not to actually change your life. So I want to make this video so that way I'm letting people know that even though you're going through this right now or have gone through it, there is still hope. And I mean, I'm very happy right now. So my life is so different in just 3 short years that I look back at myself. I'm not the same person as I was 3 years ago. And I hope that this reaches out to people who may need to hear someone else having the same thoughts, the same feelings, because I don't want you to feel alone. Nobody needs to feel alone in this. And when we're alone and we keep perpetuating that loneliness and sorrow and not understanding that we can reach out and receive help from others who have gone through it and whatnot, and that there is help out there through these wonderful programs like Weave, a Community for Peace, or My Sister's House, or any other domestic violence program out there. There are people out there. You have a community. You have support. Just know that that's out there. Because if you don't get the support, it's really difficult to get out. So I'm hoping that this will help those get the help that they need, or talk to their friends or family members who they see experiencing these things. And by the way, please be very discreet about when you talk to your friends or family about it, because if their abuser finds out, they will target that person even more. And it's really, really hard. But just being there and let them know that you love them, that you support everything that they do, and that if they need it, they can reach out to you. Now, I'm going to end my video, but I will talk more later on in further videos. Just reach out to me if you need some help. Reach out to my mom, Diane McCage. We're both talking about this right now, so that from a mother and a daughter's perspective, so that way people can really understand the family dynamic of what abuse does, and how, unless you go through the healing process, it is very hard not to repeat the cycle. And all I want to do, especially now that I'm 33, is just help others and help to change the world to make it an even better place for all of us. So that way, hopefully, in 10, 20 years, maybe there won't be as much abuse as what there has been in my life. I hope to eradicate child abuse, and I hope to eradicate the domestic violence. So I want to thank you guys, and thank you so much for listening. I'm sorry that if this was probably long. Anyhow, reach out. Talk to somebody. You can even private message me. All right. Thank you guys. Okay. Bye.